So now we are going to learn the names of the bicyclic rings or the nomenclature of the bicyclic rings using a particular rules, or we are using a particular language, I must say. And sometimes you have to consider the proper scientific language for solving a question. So for that particular case we are going to learn today about some rules. So for simplicity I am taken the structure of decade. That we know that this is a decane because it's contained the 10 carbons. Now first of all you have to check the highest priority function as the suffix, because this particular decane contains the 10 carbon, and you have to count the total number of the carbons which are present, and you have to check which ring contains how much carbons. For example, this particular ring 1 2 3 4 5 6, this particular ring contains 6 carbon, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and this particular rings contains the 7 carbon. These two are common, that's why there is a 6 member ring and there is a 7 member ring. This is a decane structure, it's contains the 10 carbon. So this is your first step. Next step is you have to identify the bridgehead carbons. You have to identify the bridgehead carbons. Always remember there is a difference between the bridgehead carbon versus the bridge. This is the bridge carbon and this is the bridgehead carbon. This one, this is the bridgehead carbons, this is the bridgehead carbons, this is the bridgehead carbons, but this is the bridge carbon. So you have to remember like which carbon is bridgehead and which is the bridge carbon. These are the bridgehead carbons. First of all you have to identify these bridgehead carbons. Identify the two rings of the bicyclic molecule. You have to just give the name to the particular, like it's a first ring and it's a second ring. You can also give the names according to the number of carbon present. Suppose this is a 6 membered ring and this is a 7 membered ring. Now next rule is you have to always prioritize the functional group present, but I have also told you that before checking the functional group you have to consider the number of the carbons that are attached. Like this structure is generally given, and if I am saying you this, you have to this is not the structure of decane. First of all, in the decane you have to increase the number of the carbon on this side and on this side. So on particular this side you have 3 particular carbons, 1 2 and 3. There are 3 carbons on this side, and on this side 1 2 3 and 4. You have to consider 4 carbons on this side. That's why I'm saying this is a structure in which you have to consider like 3 carbons on this side and 4 carbons on this side. That's a particular structure of decay, and on that case you have to check the number of carbons. So the numbering beginning at one bridgehead and follow the longest part to the second bridgehead compound, and continuing the numbering along the next longest part until all the carbons are numbered. That's why I'm saying you have to continue the numbering along the next longest part until all the carbons are numbered. So here I am starting the numbering from this side. I have started the numbering from this side because of the maximum number of carbon atoms. So you can say the longest carbon chain. But in a ring you can check the maximum number of the carbons present in this, because we have a 4 carbon on this side and we have 3 carbon on this side. So that's why we have prioritized this side. So we are starting the numbering like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and this is your bridge carbon, and these are 2 your bridgehead carbons. That's why I'm saying. Next, the fourth rule. All of you have to find the unique part that is between the bridgehead carbons and count the number of the carbons in the decreasing order. You have to mention the carbons in the decreasing order, that is 4 on one side, 3 on one side and 1 on that side. So that wise you have to like the 4.3.1. So like this you have to write the order in the decreasing order. I have already told you that. You have to find all the unique parts between the bridgehead carbons and count the number of the carbons along each part. And you have to arrange in the decreasing order. You have to give the lowest locant rule if any functional group is present. I have already told you in the previous example. You have given this particular structure in which a bromine is present, and you have alkene group. No, in this example you have given this particular bromine group is present to you, and there is a 3 carbons and there is a 2 carbons. So you are prioritizing this side. But if you are prioritizing this side like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and if you are prioritizing this side, so if you are starting the naming from this particular position like 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, then this is getting a 6th position and 5th position. So in that case bromine should get the lowest priority. functional group, you can say functional group or any substituent if present, so that must get the lowest priority. That always gets the lowest priority. Next is fifth position. You have to put everything together. That is, I have already explained you that you have to first write the bicyclo because it's a bicyclo compound. You have to mention the, I am again repeating, this is the decreasing order of atoms, not decreasing order of carbons, because in atoms in the place of carbons, suppose this is R group, so in this R group carbon can be possible, nitrogen can be possible, oxygen, phosphorus, boron and silica, Sila, Bora, Phospha, Oxo, Aza, and that is carbon. We are generally not using any substituent word for the particular carbon. So that's why I'm saying, if you are mentioning a particular name like bicyclo, in the decreasing order of the atoms you have to mention, and at last you have to mention the root name. And at last you have to mention the root name. If alkene is present, you have to give the lowest priority to the alkene group, and you have to give the lowest priority to any functional group attached, irrespective of the second rule. That is, you have to first prioritize the number of carbon atoms. You have to prioritize the number of the carbon atoms and starts the numbering on that side only. Now there are some other examples. This is the top view and this is the side view. So in this particular slide you are getting a very clear image, like what's the difference between the two structures, like why we are prioritizing the side view instead of the top view. Consider this particular top view. Now consider this top view. This structure is like this. This is the structure in which the bridgehead carbon is generally attached on the above side. So this is the above the plane. So just consider the particular 6 number ring in the plane of the screen, or you can say that it is generally plotted on a screen. So 6 carbons are arranged in a particular plane, and the one carbon is coming out of the plane towards the observer. Towards us, the one carbon is coming towards us. So that's why this is the plane. So consider this is the plane. So on 6 carbons are generally present on a particular plane, and this is coming outside the screen. So this is the particular structure.